And sometimes I'd be running out of the house because I was late for school. And I'd get this phone call, and I knew it was my mother, and I just had to stop. She's calling me from 17,000 miles away to say good morning to me. And that's the kind of love I had from her. Instantly, and that told me how deeply she loved me. And I realized in a second that no one in my life would ever love me at that level again. And love was pouring out of her. I had a mother who sacrificed her whole life for all three of us, my sister and brother. And she was amazing. She was under so much stress.
Surprise! Oh God, was I dying to see you. You know, the planes were all tied up. Oh God. I'm taking a movie of you right now.
Oh yeah, oh yeah.
What's the matter?
Oh yeah.
So you've been a year.
Let me see what you look like. You look good.
Like an old
No,
pisser.
you don't. You look wonderful.
I think I look like an old man.
You look great. You look great.
I've been missing you like crazy. Oh God, Mom, I miss you so much.
Oh, I missed you too. I forgot what you look like.
Forgot. Take a look at me. I'm ugly as hell. How do you feel?
I'm okay.
Feeling okay?
I'm feeling okay. Let me see. Let me see. Are you real? Are you
I'm real.
Are you real?
I'm real.
Are you real?
Oh God. You don't know how much I missed you, Mom.
Oh.
It's been so long.
Oh yeah. Couldn't come for my celebrate my 100th now.
I want you to be 120.
You're so wonderful.
Oh God.
You're so wonderful.
I can't believe how much I missed you. Did Cirilla call you and tell you I was going to be
Yeah,
late?
she did. I didn't understand her.
Look at you. See yourself?
Yeah.
I had a father who was a wonderful, skilled physician, and he was very, very good at what he did. But my father, I think, was good at everything he did. He was very well read, very well educated, and he came from poverty, utter poverty. He was a really amazing person. He was very hot-wired, very, he was very strong, but very, very hair-trigger tempered sort of guy. And when he was mad, it wasn't like he would want to get even with anybody. He practically wanted you dead when you fought with this guy. I knew better than to ever get his temper up, because it simply was out of control. And he harassed my mother mostly about her education. He diminished her all the time. And he went to Columbia and got a dental degree. He was a dentist, but he was also a really fine doctor. And my childhood was pretty volatile with my little brother, because we would be in our rooms many evenings. He'd come home, he would miss dinner or come home, and then a huge fight would ensue. And it was painful. I mean, we had to close the doors because there was dishes breaking and screaming and lots of cursing. And my brother and I would just hold our ears and try not to think about what was happening to Mom. But it was awful, and it would, after the fight, it was like a volcano, and then there was so much ash around. They wouldn't talk to each other for maybe a day or two after these colossal fights, and then somehow they would work themselves out, and our household would go back to normal. But the thing about this is that my mother kept our childhood as normal as possible, and she never seemed to be crying or worried about it, because it was too important to her that we were well nourished, that we had good meals at home. So she was a real homemaker. She made beautiful meals at night, and she was always left with all the cleaning up after that every night with dishes, and she'd be exhausted when she went to bed. And I don't think that we were out of her minds for even a second. She was constantly worried about what we were doing, or what. She was the kind of mother that was always in your business, always worried about you, and very much in touch with you. There's a moment in time and in life when some little cathartic thing happens, and then you realize, and I realized in a moment how much my mother loved me. It turned out to be a joke. I was going to see her. I hadn't seen her for 2 years almost. I talked to her on the phone all the time. She's the kind of mother that would call me every school day and wish me rise and shine, have a good day, honey. Sometimes I'd be running out of the house because I was late for school, and I'd get this phone call, and I knew it was my mother, and I just had to stop. She's calling me from 17,000 miles away to say good morning to me, and that's the kind of love I had from her. I think my father was such an amazing professional man, and he was so driven, and at the same time, he was so different than anybody because he was so hot-wired and angry a lot. And I think great deal of depression. He was depressed about what life turned out to be, even though he had everything. We had a wonderful home and money, but I think he was disappointed, and there wasn't enough pleasure in life for him. So they were having arguments when we were young, and violent arguments, and my brother and I were little, and we go to our room and close the door, and we couldn't possibly go to sleep because we could hear the shrieking and yelling and cursing all night, from both of them, and dishes breaking. God knows what was happening. At some points I would even get worried, and I'd go out just to see if my mother was still alive. He would put her down a lot diminish her for no education. But she went through she came from Odessa, Russia, and she went through the depression and the school. We call it the school of hard knocks. She had a lot of life experience. She gave us a privileged life, and undoubtedly the most unconditional love. I could feel it all the time. She was trying to protect me all the time. Of course, when you grow up, you miss that protection, and you miss that security, when they were there, your parents are there. So this is this moment that crystallized. I had been at ISB in the International School Bangkok for about 8 years, and I went home to see her. I think I skipped one summer. I didn't go home, so I hadn't seen her for 2 years. My brother, this was his idea, that I would come to his house, stay in one bedroom. She would be invited over. She'd fly from Florida to his house, and then in the morning he would somehow introduce me. He would get on a phone, which was actually an intercom, and call into my room. I was staying in his son's room, and tell my mother that he had ordered bagels or something. We were going to have a nice breakfast with lox and bagels. So he called me, and I knew she was staying in the room next door, but we held out to the morning when she was up. She's an early riser and a very hard worker. She got up, and she's just talking casually with my brother. She has no idea I'm in the house. And then that moment came when I walked into the room, and she was shattered instantly, and that told me how deeply she loved me. And I realized in a second that no one in my life would ever love me at that level again.
We dressed him up. You should see how we went. We put it together.
You order cream cheese?
Yeah, bring it up.
I've come a long way.
Bring up the cream cheese.
Oh, isn't that cute?
It's,
What kind
Oh my God! Oh my God in heaven! Oh my God!
If you don't think this is expensive cream cheese.
cream cheese.
Oh, honey. What are you crying for?
Do you want a cream cheese or not?
Is it not the flavor you wanted?
Overseas cream cheese.
When you get here, what did you do?
Do you want cream cheese or not? It's a good idea, man. You're gonna give her a heart attack.
Don't think we hadn't thought about this.
How are you? How are you?
You're gonna get me full of cream cheese.
When did you get here?
Huh?
When did you get here?
As soon as he called up for cream cheese, I ran out. I got into business now. Reporting it over. It's a long way to
How
go.
are you?
I'm okay. How are you? Look at you. It's a good thing I see you with hair on.
Terrible.
How are you?
I'm okay. How are you?
I think she's fine now.
Good to see you. Before I die, anyway.
I know that was the big one. Before you die.
That was almost it.
I'm always worried that time before you do it. Far away.
It's so wonderful to see you.
Thank you. I think I look just like you. Every time I look in the mirror, I say, Mom,
We were gonna do
Do
this
you
in a
want
restaurant.
anchovies?